Hey, config, how you feeling? Do we have coffee? Do you have enough coffee? All right. We're excited. Let's kick this off.
Cool. I'm Lauren. I'm an engineer and the product manager on Figma Draw.
My name's Tim, software designer at Figma.
And I'm Rogie. I'm a designer advocate, but also a designer on this project, and we're behind the team that's called Figma Draw. But before we dive in, yeah, I love that. Okay, before we dive in, here's what we're going to be talking about today. First, we'd love to share our story, the behind the scenes of Draw and how it came to life. And for the remainder of time, we'll go deep on the nitty-gritty of our feature set with the demos of our favorite features. Lauren is going to show us our amazing updates made to vector editing. And Tim's going to show us how these features work with designing icons, kind of his thing, and UI. And I'm going to walk through techniques for illustration and effects. By now, you've hopefully watched the keynote, sure hope so, it just happened, and gotten a peek into Figma Draw and are familiar with the new features that exist here. So we're going to tell you how we got here. We started this project on a mission: expand what you can do in a product design tool like Figma and unflatten design. And of course, we wanted to bring designers a little bit of joy by focusing on our core features. And we know that many of you are product designers. We know our core audience. We know you use things like auto layout and design systems, and these are really powerful. We also know that product design is not all layout and design systems. And we know a bunch of you who use Figma don't really fit neatly into this little product design box. You wear a lot of hats. And some of you may design a mobile app, but also have an icon set that you're creating, and others need to design a website and also maybe create an illustrated header. And for that group, we wanted to make Figma the place where you can stay in flow all the time. So how did we figure out where to start? Well, we knew a few things. First, our community. That's you. You can applaud for yourself. Go. You're always sharing with us cool things that you can do in Figma, but cool things you want to do in Figma. I mean, some of you really wanted text on a path. And some of you wanted a shape builder tool. I love the thought of this one tool being a utopian society for all. Let's hope it does do that. But like, some of you really wanted it. We get a lot of tweets and posts, so we're seeing this. And progressive blur. Any progressive blur fans in the room? There we go. I was going to make a conservative blur joke about this, but Tim told me not to. And second, Figmates. These are the employees that work at Figma. They have a lot of feedback and ideas as well. And you may have heard of this, but every year at Figma we have a Maker Week, where we get to just work on anything we want to, no leadership approval required. And let's just say that a lot of the themes that happen for us in Maker Week are also coming up in our community. Like Lauren over here, and Ojan working on text on a path a few years ago. Or Connor working on an early version of Shape Builder. And Lauren and I working on rotation origin, I know, sick design. Or Yasir and Alex working on progressive blur. Look at the math in that? That's insane. Who does that? And I created a plugin to explore SVG filter effects. And Lauren and Katie pulled off some mad engineering feats with a variable width stroke project. And finally, we also knew that vector editing hadn't been touched since like the early days of Figma, so we knew we needed to double down on making that experience better. So we had all of these inputs, and at the same time, we noticed that the most memorable product design experiences have moments of visual delight, like MailChimp's mascot, Freddy, or Duolingo's bodacious booty and dowled owl. Anybody like that butt? Yeah. And Notion's painterly character style. Expression has become a core part of product design. And we wanted to make that possible where designers are already working in Figma. And if I'm being honest, we just wanted to be able to make rad shit in Figma.
So we made a team full of people who are passionate about this, including all the folks who worked on Maker Week projects over the years. And we started building an initial feature list, but it was huge. Of course, we wanted to build all of these things. But we were a really small team. We had like 5 people at first. So how do we narrow this down to something feasible? We landed on this principle of efficient and expressive. We knew we wanted to be able to enable designers to make cool things, but we also wanted to build them the Figma way: powerful, easy, and efficient. We had to find a balance of both. The cool new expressive features come to mind first when thinking about how to expand what you can create in Figma, but we knew that if we launched a bunch of these features without fixing any of the paper cuts that everyone stumbles over in vector edit mode, this launch would be a huge miss. like what used to happen when trying to outline stroke or do certain Boolean operations. This was actually an entire system that we had to rip out and rewrite that powers Figma's Boolean operations, outline stroke, and SVG exports. And it was an issue that has haunted the halls of Figma files for years, so it was finally time. I mean, Josh asked a few years ago, 2023, if our big config announcement was going to be finally fixing outline stroke. So we're a little bit late, but yes, we did. Of course, we had even more bugs to fix. Maybe you've been frustrated by the thing when you change the mirroring in vector edit mode and it doesn't update immediately, or the tragic atrocities of delete and heal. Thank you, Annie and Sam, for fixing both of these. But we also needed to fix some other paper cuts, anything that takes too long or requires too many clicks to do something you do often, like bringing Boolean operations, vector tools, and stroke properties closer to you when you're editing vectors, or removing a click from changing the stroke position. But beyond bug fixes, we want to bring more speed and power to vector editing. We used to have to edit each vector layer individually and then escape out and then edit another one, but why can't you just edit multiple vectors at the same time? Or if you're editing a vector, why can't you just hop over and edit another one without clicking out and clicking back in? Okay, so we talked about efficiency, but what about more expressive tools? So many things can be expressive depending on your perspective, but expressive how? We knew we wanted to give users more tools for this, but we needed to figure out what kind of expression. So we started by looking at what kind of work our customers and community were creating, even if it wasn't in Figma, and asked ourselves, what features would you need to make this? From here, we started picking up on patterns and seeing the delta between what was being created and what Figma couldn't do. So maybe something to do with like grainy gradients or patterns, and looking around, there's a lot of noise, there's also roughness, a lot of rough-in-looking shapes. And once we had all this figured out, we went back through all this cool work that we loved, and we asked for each thing here, could you make this piece of work using the feature set that we're proposing? So we knew with this project we had to balance a passion to make really cool new things with the responsibility of fixing some things that are real pain points already. We had to find the sweet spot of efficiency and expression.
So we ended up with a bucket list of ideas for efficiency and expression that we felt would bring designers joy. And we started putting all these tools thoughtfully into Figma Design. We started using them and testing them. They were feeling really great, but it didn't really feel great enough for expressive work like illustration or brand design. And as we used our new features and our alpha users were testing them, we started to pick up on little annoyances when creating visually rich assets. Like designers wanted visual layer thumbnails, and vector tools like Boolean groups wanted those to be easier to access. Colors, gradients, and effects mattered more here, so maybe larger thumbnails. What else could we do? And visual designers were designing with intent prior to drawing. So like instead of just adding a stroke on something then changing it, they might want to choose the stroke before. So we experimented with adding thumbnails to the layers panel here, which allow you to see great previews, to get a visual sense of what was what. I think I heard one clap. We love that. And with our tool belt, we let designers choose properties up front before they start to draw. Like with a brush, you could choose the color and the size of it, or maybe the brush face. And for the properties panel, we added a drop down that allows you to choose fills and strokes and effects with intention. We realigned the properties panel to bring in bigger, juicier effect previews and made them more informative. Like for instance, you can see the progressive blur and the values where it starts and ends. And wherever we could, we added sliders. I blame myself, maybe another designer, Joel, but I'm calling them vibe sliders to give you more tactile control, to let you slide a little bit, you know? Feel the vibe, and then it's like, yeah, that's just right. We wanted to create a space where you can focus in on expressive work without overcomplicating Figma Design. We know we all want to work together and we all need different tools. We have different ways of working. So if you're a web designer, you might care about auto layout, grids, effects. If you're a brand designer, you might care about brushes, adding roughness or texture. But if you're a systems designer, you might care about components, auto layout, variables, properties. And we believe the best ideas come from the people that have different perspectives working together. I kind of feel like that's like a good rule for life as well. So what if we brought those different skill sets, different tools, different perspectives into Figma? A way to collaborate on the same content, on the same canvas, but with a different lens. So we created Figma Draw, and we're stoked to share it with you throughout our demos. To access Figma Draw's UI, just toggle on over to the Draw toolset. That's the little doodle thing. Tim made that icon. Beautiful. So let's stop talking about it and let's start showing you. First up to demo is Lauren, who's going to start us off.
Cool. OK. So I am the only one of us who is not a designer, and the work that I'm about to show you is sort of like some of the hobby work that I do as a person who has like sort of vector editing kind of hobbies. I'm not a professional designer, but I think that I have some interesting sort of tools and tricks that might help some of you all. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and I'll talk you through why I'm using some trees here. I am planning a party this summer, and I'm designing like a website and stuff like that. The party is my wedding. And so I've been working on sort of this website design, and I got these stock vector trees because I can't draw trees. But I actually want the holes here to be gone. They're like a little bit too detailed. And so historically, I might enter vector edit mode, and I would try to like box select these holes, but I can't do that actually because then I'd be selecting this thing. And I could like click and select these, but that would take me forever. So with a new lasso tool, this makes it a lot easier to just easily like select all of these shapes. And now I can delete these, and this is really powerful. So I'll delete them. I think maybe this trackpad is finicky, and it clicks something and allows my selection. OK, there we go. And so you'll see that was pretty good. There's some shapes here, some vertices here that are left behind, and I'll show you this again. I might sort of like try to delete these and delete these. And I think one thing you'll notice is that I'm being a little bit sloppy, and I missed some of these other vertices. But now with vector edit mode, when you delete something or delete and heal something, we'll automatically select the next vertex. So if I delete these, you can see some selected vertices left behind, and I'll just keep pressing delete, and that will sort of finish clearing out these interior holes, which is really much more efficient than what I was doing before. Yeah. So I'll keep doing this. I accidentally selected some over here. I'll option to deselect them. And so that is pretty good. And I'm not going to make you watch me fully finish these, because that would be not that fun, take a long time. But the next thing I wanted to do with these was I actually wanted to sort of create like a halftone type of effect. These are going to be used on a website, but I love sort of like halftone looks. And so I want these to be different shades of green, but like all using actually one color. So I might want to use a pattern fill here. I'm going to use the pencil tool and draw a little blob, because I actually don't want it to be like perfect circles. I want it to be sort of imperfect circles. So I'll draw a blob and select this, and then press Shift-X to flip the fill-in stroke. But you'll notice I didn't manage to close it that time. So I'll hit Return. And if I hit Command-J now, Join will automatically close any open holes like that, which is really useful if you're drawing with a pencil tool. And this is like a little bit too many vertices here, so I might want to clean this up. And so actually now if I select one of these vertex, and I'll use delete and heal, which hopefully some of you know, but I think this is like one of our best kept secrets. If I press Shift Delete, then I can delete and heal these. And because, like I said, deleting will automatically select the next vertex. And then there's another improvement where if I press Tab, I can move between vertices. I'll show you how fast this is to really quickly clean up these vertices. I can sort of Shift Delete, Tab, 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 Shift Delete. And now I can sort of quickly, oops, forgot to press Shift, delete a bunch of these vertices. This one is not mirrored, and so if I change it to mirror, it's going to automatically mirror itself here. And so that's like a pretty fast way to clean up this a little bit too complex vector. And now I can use that as an input as a pattern fill. So maybe I'll make it green, something like this, and add a pattern paint. Do something like that. That's like way too big. It doesn't really look like halftones at all. But I'll make this like a lot smaller, and then give it some spacing, something like this, and then maybe like a hex pattern. So that looks pretty good. I'll also maybe now like copy this fill, paste it on this one, and change the spacing on this one to give it like a sort of less dense halftone appearance. And so now I have really quickly these like halftone looking trees, just by using pattern fills. Yeah, so the next thing I want to show you is this little graphic that I was thinking about that would have some like mountains and waves and stuff like that. And I want this to be sort of like a free-form looking kind of abstract design. And so this is what I did. I made a bunch of straight vectors, and I'm just duplicating these. And then I applied a dynamic stroke to all of these. And the example that I showed you in the keynote had like a really tight dynamic stroke. But if I actually make this like 2,000% and then like 1,500%, now these are too big, so I want these to be sort of like smaller. And then 100% smooth. Still a little bit too big. OK, so now these are looking a lot more like sort of the mountains and waves that I had envisioned that are like kind of abstract, but sort of interesting looking. And now if I flatten all of these, I can sort of manipulate the stroke properties more. So I don't want to flatten them all together because I might want to apply different stroke properties to all of them. So I could press Command E and flatten them individually, and then I'd press Tab to move between them. But tabbing might like tab over to the trees. So actually, if I group these first, I'll group them, and select one of these, Command E, and now I can tab, flatten really quickly, and then ungroup them, and I have a bunch of flattened vectors here. OK, so now these strokes look like sort of very uniform. You can see that these are perfectly uniform strokes, which isn't exactly the aesthetic I was going for. So now I might want to make some kind of like subtle brush with a variable width stroke. So I'm going to actually make a couple brushes, maybe like 3, and I'll hit Enter to enter vector edit mode on all of these at the same time. And then we are missing a feature flag on this machine. But yeah, I would, let's see. I am
What's the issue?
missing a feature flag. That's OK. Anyway, pretend that I had the variable width stroke feature on here, which I don't. This is what I was going to show you. It would like draw these like nice looking stroke lines. I told you I was brave by doing this in the keynote, but that was like so much worse. Oops. OK.
Oh, great. It's going to hit me too.
OK. Something like this. Perfect. I think this is beautiful. OK. And maybe it was going to look like actually kind of something close to this. And I was going to make 3, but that was painful for you to watch, I'm sure, so I'll make 1. And now we can do command slash to open the quick commands and create a stretch brush. And so now I have this custom brush that I can apply to all of these strokes. So I will go to the brush panel here, scroll through my brushes, and this one is my custom brush. I could also rename it to be like Lauren's brush. OK. So these are all looking not quite like I wanted them to because I was going to use variable strokes, but pretty interesting. And some like I might want to use like some of these, and so I'll take this one and this one. Oops. And this one. Oops. OK. And then this is too much for waves. This is too much for waves. These ones tidy up. And I'll move these to be closer together. And something like this. And now I don't want these to all be thick on the same side. So I might take a couple of them and flip the stroke here. So I'll flip the brush to be the other side. And this is starting to look a little bit more like sort of waves and water. Maybe something like this. OK. And I actually wanted to flip this the other way. OK. So maybe something like this. And then finally, I want to make like a sun up here. And I'll do this using the arc tool. And so I can just make a circle shape and find these arc handles. And then I can change sort of the start and end and change the ratio. And then I'll flip the fill and stroke with Shift X. And now this is a stroked arc shape. Make this sort of like a nice orangish color, something like that. And also apply a brush to this arc. The same one as before. Oops, scrolled the wrong place. Same one as before. And now you can see that this is sort of a nice, like, a little bit more freeform looking sun. And finally, I'm going to do this with some lines. And so I'll create this vector node. apply that same color and a brush and make it a little bit thicker. And then I'll use rotation origin with Option R to make the rotation origin show up here and drag it out here. And now if I duplicate this and then I rotate it, Figma will remember how much I rotated it, and now if I just press Command D a bunch more times, it will duplicate it and rotate it around that origin point, which I love. Make some of these flipped, and if you remember, I was going to use like 3 different brushes. This would have looked a little bit more interesting in my alternate universe. And then I want these to be not all quite the same length, so I'm going to make some sort of like blobby shape around here and use it to cut out some of these sun strokes. Press Shift X to fill in stroke, and then select all of the sun lines here. Hit Enter to enter multi-vector edit mode. I missed one, so I can press Shift click to add this one to vector edit mode, and now it's been added to my vector edit mode scope here. And then I'll use the shape builder tool, Option click, and now I've like sort of inserted all these vertices, and I can quickly use the lasso tool and delete these. And now I have sort of this like nice looking sun that I was more excited about. I'll align these a little bit. Cool. So like I said, I'm the amateur designer in the group. I think that both of them will show you something more exciting today. But next up is Tim.
Thank you. We're hitting some technical difficulties, so let me just
So refresh.
reload this tab, and we have a support crew helping us out. Like I said in the intro, I'm a software designer at Figma. A lot of my time actually goes to like maintaining and growing our large collection of app icons, as you can see here. I helped out with the new app icons that we rolled out today. Also like the brushes and the drawing tools that you see here. I would describe my style as like mechanical, which is basically a really fancy way of saying that my life is like rectangles and circles combined in a Boolean. That's how I make money. It's amazing. Outside of that, I have a healthy amount of side projects, but I also do a lot of like just wandering, creative wandering, exploration, just kind of keep that creative brain going. I do all of this in Figma, and I love it, and I'm just like super, super excited about how these new features in Draw will help me do a better job. I think the best way to kind of show that is to design some icons. Let's start there. We're going to do some icons, and we're going to go from easy mode to like really, really hard mode. I've set up some starting points here, like, all right, I want to do a moon. I can select the 2 shapes here. And then look, we have this new selection actions bar at the bottom that quickly allow me, quickly give me access to these new Boolean operations. So I can do a simple subtract. Let me shift and let me put a little stroke on this. Oops, 1. And I kind of want it on the outside, which I was able to really, really easily change on the side. Like this new panel has really become my life. Like this is amazing. No more opening up a secondary window to kind of make these changes. So we got our moon. That was easy. Let's do a cloud. We have a couple of options here, and I think the first option I'm going to do is using the new shape builder. So I can select shape builder, and I can just drag and select all the bits that I want to be part of this. And there you go. I now have a cloud icon. I like shape builder, but I love Booleans. So let me show how I can do it here. And later, I'll go into detail why I love Booleans so much. So the option here, again, is I can use the Boolean controls at the bottom, or I can just use our recently rolled out shortcuts. So Option Shift, Union, obviously. And again, I have my cloud in a different way. So getting harder and harder here. Let's do some free form arrow drawing. Let me just draw an arrow real quick. I hold down Shift to get that like 45-degree angle. Do it like this. But I want another one, so let me vertically flip it. Select both. Make it look a bit friendlier. This is like really our like Figma icon style that I'm following right now. So I got my arrows, and I like them, but I want to make a change. And instead of like before, you had to go in one object, make changes, get out of that object, go into the other one, and so on. I can now here click in, make my changes here, and then without having to go out, I can just Command-click on the other shape, and I can now edit this one too. But oops, not that. What's even cooler, if I do Shift-Command, now both of the objects are available to me to edit. So I can quickly make my changes, and there we go. We call it hopping and multi-vector edit. So just like small things that will hopefully save you over time, like many, many hours of your life. All right, thank you. Thank you, fellow vector editing aficionados. I appreciate it. Like, I'm excited for this. All right, let's really bump it up right now. We want to do a settings icon. And a settings icon, it's always fiddly. Like how many teeth do you want on the cog, basically. So let's do, what are we going to do? Let me see. Start here. I draw a simple line to the middle. And this will be one of the teeth, basically. Let me increase the width of this. Now I'm going to use a radial repeat to really help me decide the number of teeth that I want. Like, it just allows me to quickly play around with some different options. Let me just finish this, put these two together in a union, make it black so you can see it better. And then let's cut out the middle bit like this. There we go. We have a cog. And again, I can go in and kind of really like tweak, like, oh, not this. How many teeth I want. Like, obviously, we have to put an outline on it. There we go, on the outside, make it friendly. So yeah, and again, I was using Booleans here, and I mentioned previously how much I love Booleans. So I'm just going to prove why Booleans are the superior way of designing icons. So I'm going to copy this Boolean group that I created. And then we're going to go over here, and you can see, like, oh, this is a completely different style of icons you have here. And I would like a settings icon that kind of matches that style. OK, like, I've did some setup. I set up a place to start working on this. Let me paste in the cog that I just made. Like, all right, let me see. So it's more filled. So that's one change. Let me see. Let's fill it up. Let's get this one and make it taller. OK, that kind of hits that point nicely. What else? This. And then this one. I'm not going to do a full cutout. I'm going to do like a stroke on the outside. What are we doing here? Yeah, we're using 3 as a cutout. So now we have our little object here. Let me hide the guides to make it more clear. There we go. Let me put a fill on it. The default icon fill. Let me put our effects on it. Default icon effect. But still, I can see what's missing. These other icons have like a subtle rounded corner that I don't have here. And like, because this is a Boolean group, I can just go in and easily add a little bit of softness to kind of like break the sharpness of things here. Sorry, I'm a perfectionist. I'm going to go back in here and make this fit a bit. Yeah, I like that. So magically, thank you. Like, through the magic of components, the icon I just drew is sitting right here, ready to use. And I'd like to introduce you to an app that I've been designing. The app is called Keyboard Collector, because I'm a nerd and I love, love, love my keyboards. It's an app that allows you to show off your collection of keyboards and and then share it with friends. And I'm pretty happy with this style. Like, this is like no longer flat or anything. This is closer to some of the stuff that we've seen in the past, maybe a bit more polished. But I want to use some of the draw features to put some more polish on here. So at first, the background is pretty, like what you see behind the cards here, it's a bit boring. As you can see on the right here, like, I'm not an artist, but I worked really hard with the pen tool to draw this pattern. So let's add a pattern to the background here. I'm going to hide the content real quick so we can see better what we're doing. There we go. Fill. This might be my favorite feature of all of Draw, is this little drop down to quickly allow me to select the type of fill I want to add before I actually add something. Select source. I'm going to select the pattern and get this background, play a bit with the scale of things and the positioning. Like this in the center. Do we want to play with the offset? Maybe not. Maybe -2 here. Yeah, that looks about good. So easy peasy, just like that, we added a pattern fill. Let's bring back the content. Thank you. All right, we're getting there. There's a bit of a problem at the bottom here. The icons have some transparency to pick up the background color that's sitting behind them to kind of blend in a bit more. In this case, they're blending in a bit too much, and you lose the definition of the icons because of all the heavy imagery you see in the back. I tried adding a bit of a fade near the end, but it's not working perfectly there. So let me select this, and I'm going to hold on, go to Effects. I'm going to add a background blur. It makes the whole thing bulky. So what I'm going to do instead of uniform is I'm going to go to progressive, and I'm just going to tweak and see all right, what point I feel like this is too much, way too obvious. There's a subtle point here that, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. And it should also, yep, it appeared everywhere. Again, components are your best friend. But now let's see what does this look like when I play with it. So it's loading. It's a lot of images. So this is our previewer, and as you can see, buttery smooth. So super happy. I started designing a long time ago, and for this last bit, this is a personal one that I want to do, and I want to ask everyone to start doing it as well. And that is we have gradients here, we have highlights here. The only thing missing is some subtle noise in the UI. So let's quickly come here. We have two fills. We have two fills, and let's add an effect. So let's add a noise effect. Set to 1. We're happy with black. Let's do maybe white at 5%. Slightly lower the density. And there you go. There you go. A beautiful UI that's not flat. It has character.
Oh, you're going to see my whole slide deck. Great. All right. Cross your fingers, everyone. We're hoping that we got what Lauren was trying to demo ready. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, everyone, I'm Rogie King. Yes, it's a very weird name. As you can see, I'm a maximalist and a horror fan. I love a lot of things, but I love two things way too much in my life, so much to the point where it becomes my whole personality. And that's Disney movies and horror movies.
What a combination.
Basically making me the most unattractive person in conversations. Show of hands, any Disney adults in the room? There are tens of us. Find each other. So this is the kind of artwork that I love to make, and this makes me really happy. This is where I go, this is my joy space. And every once in a while, if you can combine Disney and horror, you get a really cute looking demon, and I love that shit. I love it. Anyways, that's enough about me. Just a little backstory. We're gonna jump into some demos. Okay, so buckle up. The beginning part of this, I'm gonna hit you really fast. I love to do these like speed runs. So I just wanna like give you as much as I can, very little amount of time. Okay, so the first thing I wanna talk about is the texture effect. And we're gonna come over here under effects, we're gonna add texture. And the first thing that you're gonna see is that it makes that shape like a little texture. But this is kind of like a all-in-one super powerful displacement effect, where if you make the size really big, notice that it just kind of like wiggles and wobbles it just a little bit. And as this effect you can add to anything. But also I can take this way down and bump the radius way up, and this is what all you designers like out there. This is like a grainy gradient, right? Come on, get excited. You want this, you want this. All right, and then we've also got a font that's not on this machine, but we can do this with text as well. And I'm gonna do this a really simple way. I'm just gonna copy it and paste it. And then what I'm gonna do is go under the texture effect, and maybe with the text, let's see here, I'm just gonna, like I could just fuzz out the edges a little bit, kind of like an alternative to blur, or I could just roughen it up a little bit, you know, keep that radius kind of subtle, keep this, you know, play with it, play with it. Okay, the other thing is texture effect is super cool because we designed it to work on shadows. So if I come in and I add a texture effect, I'm gonna have to stop adding these all the time, but we can see that it's affecting the shadow. And we have this magical, magical little button here, and it's called clip to shape. Somebody in the room saying, no, that's actually a checkbox, good point. So you can actually clip to shape, and then we can actually make a grainy shadow. Super cool. What we're gonna do here, I'm gonna start copying these so we can speed run really fast. Next thing is I'm gonna put this texture effect on this inner shadowed circle. And now we can see that we have these grainy transitions over it. Wow, that's so cool. I've been dying for a tool that can do this for me in like one click, and it's here today, and I could not be more excited with like giddy enthusiasm. All right, next thing, this texture effect really works over color gradations. So let's say I'm like a really cool brand designer, like our brand team, and I make this just like really fun, silly flower. Well, I can just add it, and as I adjust the size, do this, I bring up the radius a little bit. Let's actually go higher on the size for all you in the back. This looks not great. And so if I clip the shape here, you can see now this looks a lot better. So it really works well on color variations in a group, in anything. And so I can do the same thing here just by turning this on. And you'll notice this texture effect looks really great because those colors are really close. If I take the gradient and I actually move the colors further apart, you're gonna get a more subtle ease in, and maybe that's what you're looking for. And of course, you know, my love of horror, we can actually turn it on here and mwahaha, that looks amazing. Okay. Another thing we can do, I know we've already shown it, but like progressive blur can work with this. So first I'm gonna make the kind of things that I see everybody out there making, which is super cool, which is this layer blur. But now we have a progressive blur, and we can actually change the location of that. And this is more from a art and illustration standpoint, whereas Tim's was like from a UI standpoint. So this can actually really help with illustration here. And if I turn on my texture effect and we move it to the top, we can see now we have a progressive blurred, gradiented, textured thing, and it's cool looking. All right, another one of my personal favorites, my baby, is this dynamic stroke. Lauren demonstrated it, super cool. It's kind of when you want like just like a little bit of wiggle, a little wobble, and you want these to be true vector lines that you can actually expand and then build upon. So if I come here and I just change this to dynamic stroke, I have this cool basketball. And now I can kind of wiggle it, I can wobble it, you know, I can make the wiggle less, I can smoothen it or roughen it, and if I bring the frequency way down like this, let's go smooth all the way down. Ooh, looks like a death metal band basketball. All right. Now, okay, Lauren, here we go. Let's see if we've got this. Oh, okay, we gotta show it, we gotta show it. Thank you, team. This is a feature that we're really excited about. We just it needs to cook a little bit longer, but it's variable width stroke. And if you want to know what a variable width stroke is, this is on this one over here on the left. This is kind of what we see today. It's a uniform width stroke. And on the right, you know, like they taper off. The variable width tapers on the stroke. Quick demo for your eyes only. I'm just going to add a variable width point. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why that excites me so much. Okay, next we're going to talk about brushes. We've only got a little bit of time, so we're going to speed run. Okay, with the brushes, we will add a brush here, and we can just add it this way. We can do it in Figma Design or in Figma Draw. The other thing we can do, and Lauren showed this as well, we can just grab a brush stroke, and I can hold Option, make that bigger, and draw something in. I'm not going to demo this because I want to move along, but you can create any vector object on the screen and make it into a brush. So we're just going to demo this one. We're just going to take some text that I've flattened. We're going to come to the bottom here, and we're going to draw in Figma Draw. All right. Now, we only got a little bit more time. I'm going to just go through a quick example. We will skip over the pattern one. But I'm going to go through a quick example here. I want to take this eye, and I want to give it some life and give it some texture. So I'm going to take this shadow, and I'm going to turn on texture here. Already, we've got a great thing. We're using clip to shape. Next thing we're going to do is take this shadow and add some texture there. Next thing we're going to do is take this iris, and what I'd like to do with this is create a little bit of a halftone effect with a pattern. And we've already done this before, but we're just going to add it and do this, and we're going to make the scale super small and the spacing way out like this. And that looks really rad. And what we're going to do now is just add a little bit of subtle roughening to everything. And we can see that the pattern is totally like messed up and it looks a little bit more organic-y in print. And as a last flex, what we're going to do is just come on over here, duplicate this frame, and realize that we actually bound this all to variables. So I'm going to change this to dark. All right. So for my last few, I just want to do a little bit of text on a path, and then I just want to show you a final piece of art that I've done using texture. So with text on a path, what I'm going to do is come on in here, and I've got a path here, and I'm going to use two different features at once. So I want to put in these names here, maybe bump up the font just a bit here. I'm going to now center this on the path and then bring it right here and then align it to, oops, I missed the spot. All right, align it to the middle. And then what I'm going to do here is make my life a lot easier by using a repeater. And I'm going to use a radial repeat with 0 gap on this text on a path. Now, I don't know how many of these names are, but I'm just going to eyeball it. And that looks about right. So super helpful to be able to do all this. When you're ready to edit these layers after the repeater's done, just click apply. Now you have all of those text on the paths ready to put in your information. All right, I was working on this late last night, and it's a tribute to things I love like snakes and vectors. And this is all done in Figma. And I wanted to do a few last minute edits to this. So the one thing I want to do is add brushes. So if I have a group with all of these strokes in them, I can simply select it. Let's see if I can find it. It's not showing up. Just going to do this. Well, we were going to add brushes, and we are. All right. So I'm just going to do some real quick edits. Add in some brushes. That looks gnarlier. It gives it a little bit more texture than what I was using with the texture effect. The other thing I'm going to do is come on in here to this little Bezier bit, and I'm going to change this to a brush. Maybe change this one up here to this grindhouse brush. That seems accurate and appropriate. And now we've already styled this up. And then lastly, we'll do one last thing before I finish up this demo. Another text on a path here, and then we're going to duplicate it, and I'm going to use one button here to flip it to the inside. And how this is great is I can actually drag it all the way down now, push it to the bottom, and this is our mantra. for the conference. Let's do it. Thanks so much.
Can we switch to the deck? There we go. I think it's pretty clear how excited we all are to use these features. So like you can imagine how hard it is to keep this under wraps. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Figma Draw and nearly 24 of new features and lots of improvements. Yeah, we're excited. It's wild how this project went from a list of feature ideas to just like a fully expressive playground, only like a couple of months. It's a home for brand designers, icon designers, any other designer that you can imagine. And the good news is, like, there was a long list of features that we wanted to build, and we didn't get to it. So there's a lot more coming. You heard about variable with stroke that will be shipping in a couple of weeks, and throughout summer there will be a whole lot more. It has been an insane journey. If later you come across any of the people you see on this slide, give them a big hug. Like the amount of engineering and non-engineering talent that was needed to bring all this together is insane. It's from working with some of the oldest and gnarliest parts of the Figma code base, all the way up to wordsmithing how to best name like specific properties. The greatest honor you can bestow upon this team is to use the features and make things that we never even expected. Like we've been daydreaming about what kind of results we would see. I'm not saying 2010 skeuomorphism is the answer to everything, but it would definitely look a lot nicer. So go out, make cool stuff, texture the world, and unflatten your designs. We'll be out there. Come chat with us later. We want to chat with you about this. So thank you.
Thank you.